Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. My name is Tim Sink. I'm president of the Greater Concord Chamber of Commerce, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 103rd annual meeting and Citizen of the Year dinner. I know what you're thinking, I've been to many of these, but not all of them. So thank you so much for being here. So our theme tonight is around Connect, which is a very important part of our mission. The Chamber is honored to take opportunities like tonight to serve as a convener, connecting you in meaningful ways with many organizations, outstanding businesses, and some of the area's greatest leaders. So a big thank you to many generous sponsors who have supported this evening's event. Our presenting sponsor tonight is Merrimack County Savings Bank, and they're obviously no stranger to anybody in this room. This is an organization that supports so many important causes throughout this community. So we're very grateful to them for their long-standing support of the Chamber and so many other organizations. And to Linda Lorden and all of our friends at the Merrimack, thank you so much for your generous support. We have a number of other sponsors I'd like to recognize. Our corporate sponsors tonight are Eversource Energy Services, Grapponi Automotive Group, Mason & Rich Professional Association, NBT Bank NA, and Unitil. Our dessert sponsor is Bar Harbor Bank and Trust. Our event sponsors are Liberty Utilities, Nathan Wexler and Company, PA, and Northeast Delta Dental and Orrin Reno. Our associate sponsors are Cleveland Waters and Bass, PA, Dartmouth Hitchcock Clinics, Concord and Eastern Bank, and our supporting sponsors are Bangor Savings Bank, Concord Hospital, McLean Middleton, Ledyard National Bank, North Branch Construction, Rath Young and Pignatelli PC, and our in-kind sponsors are Courtyard by Marriott, Grapponi Conference Center, D. McLeod Inc., and Speedy Printing and Copying. So thank you for the support of all our generous sponsors tonight. So Concord is blessed with some truly talented and very giving leaders, and that's evident when you look around this room. One of those visionary leaders is here to welcome you tonight, someone who truly loves this community, and he demonstrates it every day with what he does. So it is my great pleasure to invite to the podium our good friend, the Mayor of Concord, the Honorable Jim Boulay.
First of all, thank you, Tim, for reading that exactly as I wrote that. So how do I start everything I go to? What do we say? Welcome to another great day in the city of Concord, right? But tonight is a little more special, and why is that? And I'm sorry, I'm going to give it away, but Father Rich, I hope you don't mind. He gave me a little insight in the Powerball numbers tonight, so we're good. You all can go home, enjoy. I'll let you know how it works out. So, good evening, everyone, and I want to thank you all for being here as we celebrate our next Citizen of the Year during what has become one of the highlights and social events on the calendar. Not only is it time to come together, but it is also time to celebrate some of the things that make me most proud about Concord. The contributions of people like Ellen Groh and all of our community and organizations and businesses. All of you make Concord a welcoming and vibrant city that is today. So Ellen, congratulations on this recognition, and thank you for all you've done since you were Executive Director of the Concord Coalition on Homelessness. Tonight we celebrate all of your contributions, accomplishments, and we wish you all the best in your impending retirement. It is well deserved. I also like to thank Tim and his wonderful team at the Chamber, along with their Board of Trustees. Some of you have heard me say this before, but it's absolutely true. Tim and his team at the Chamber have always been my go-to when I need a good sounding board and things are feeling kind of off, and it's always greatly appreciative of the sound counsel that you give. So thank you very much, Tim. We want to thank you for all you do for the community, provide information and bringing us together for events like these. So I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening, and I want you all to, as you go into the holiday season, go spend your money in Concord. Right? Thank you very much. Have a great night.
We are really lucky to have a mayor like Jim Groh, so really appreciate you being here tonight, Jim. Another good friend of the chamber is Jim Milliken. Jim is another great example of volunteer leadership that helps make this community so special. And Jim had my job at the chamber many years ago, served as the president of the chamber for a decade before moving to the private sector. He's a past member of the board of directors, past board chair. He was a recipient of our Distinguished Citizen of the Year Award, and he continues to volunteer in numerous capacities in the community. And Jim, I've learned over the years, is a man of deep faith, and I'm honored to ask him to provide an invocation tonight. So no matter what your beliefs, we hope you'll take this moment to reflect on this wonderful community and feel gratitude for this meal and for the opportunity to connect with friends this evening. So, Jim Milliken.
Let us pray. Most gracious God, we come to you today seeking your blessing upon our Greater Concord community and our Chamber of Commerce and all of those assembled here this evening. This day, we come to celebrate our year of successes and to recognize those persons who have achieved much through their volunteer efforts and service to others. Continue to grant us the willingness and ability to work together for the betterment of the common good, and empower us to continue to play our part in creating that unity and oneness in our individual lives and in our public and professional lives. In this time of great trial, we ask for your help and guidance in our efforts to discern what we must do to protect and sustain us and our way of life. Give us the strength and determination to overcome this time of pandemic and social unrest. As we celebrate, send your Spirit to be present with us and to be known and heard by those newly selected board members, our citizens of the year, both past and present, and all those who lead in our communities in our Greater Concord area. We give you our thanks for the many blessings we have received and the fellowship we enjoy through our chamber relationships. Send us forth from here as your ambassadors for a better world. Bless this food that we may put it to your use. Amen.
Thank you, Jim, and please enjoy your dinner, and we'll resume the program in a little while. Well, hello again, everybody. We're actually a little ahead of schedule tonight, and so the rule of thumb, at least with the chambers, it's okay to end a little early, but it's really not okay to end a little late. So we're just going to jump right in here and get going again. So I hope you enjoyed your dinner. And I'd like to get started again for our official changing of the gavel. So we have a board of directors that ensures that we follow our mission, and that is to develop economic opportunities, to strengthen the business climate, and to enhance the quality of life in the capital region. So these dedicated business leaders on our board, they make key decisions for our organization. They decide how to best use our resources to provide for the Chamber's future and for serving the business community. And I have had the distinct pleasure this year to work closely with Tanya Rochette. This past year, she served as board chair. This organization has benefited from some truly outstanding leaders over the years, and Tanya is certainly no exception. She ran board meetings and executive committee meetings in ways that made them both fun and very productive. She was always willing to roll up her sleeves and get in the trenches sometimes with chamber staff at various community events and initiatives. She was always there to take my call, and she was willing to provide important counsel and guidance to me throughout the course of the year. Tanya, you have been an absolute joy to work with this past year. I'm very grateful for your leadership and ongoing encouragement. And I would like to invite you up to the podium to just receive a token of our appreciation and for your remarks. So please help me appreciate Tanya. I'll put that aside for you, and you can make your remarks.
Thank you.
Tanya.
Maybe that's because I end meetings late sometimes, that I gotta cook. Thank you all for being here tonight. First, let me start with a huge thank you to the nearly 900 businesses and organizations that continue to support our chamber and its mission, or your chamber and its mission. I'd like to single out a few board members that are ending their terms and on our board and have, sorry, let me back up a second, sorry. I'd like to single out a few board members whose terms on our board have been completed. Will you please stand when I call your name? And to our audience, please hold your applause until the end. We have Leslie Walker with Mason and Rich Professional Association as immediate past chair. Where's Leslie? I know she's, okay. Kevin Boyarski of New Hampshire Print and Mail Services. There he is. Donna Rice with Premier Properties. We have Connor Spurn from the Concord Coalition to End Homelessness, representing the Concord Young Professional Network and served as a SIP chair. And we have Heather Capraro from Franklin Savings Bank, who represented our ambassador committee and served as the committee's chair. Thank you guys very much for your time with us. That's where I had written clap here on my notes, thank you. It's been a busy year as we brought back many face-to-face networking events, educational programs, trade shows, and awards events. It's been pretty fun to start getting back to in-person. We have pretty incredible members and visitors and just folks that like to come to our networking events because they're trying to learn more. And it's really nice to see all this happening again. Creative Concord has added new sculptures to downtown and new mural on Store Street. Local, state, and government affairs keeps members informed on key issues at the local and state levels. SIPN resumed its robust programming schedule. Leadership Greater Concord, 2009, best class ever, graduated its 31st class, and the CASTLE program, Capital Area Student Leadership, for sophomores in high school and the surrounding area high schools, graduated its 27th class. The Chamber's diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives resulted in partnerships and successful relationships that are going to continue to grow and thrive. And there's so much more I could talk about, but I'm sure you're glad that I'm not going to. But in the interest of time, it is now my great pleasure to hand the gavel over to Alyssa Alfieri of Lilise Designer Retail.
Good evening. I'm going to get myself all ready here for you. I just want to say thank you to Tanya Rochette for her great leadership for the past year. It was really wonderful to serve under you, and I'm looking forward to serving everyone for the rest of this year. So good evening. This chamber is very fortunate to have an active and engaged board of directors, and I'm honored to have the opportunity to serve as your board chair this year. And while we are sorry to say goodbye to some very talented directors who have completed their terms, we're also excited to welcome 6 new directors to the board. So this is another list of people, so we'll wait until the end to come. So Dr. Arante of Northeast Delta Dental, Joanne Gagnon of Bank of New Hampshire, Brad Kulaks from Merrimack County Savings Bank, Andrew Luce from Mason and Rich Professional Association, Kaylee Green, Legacy Marketing and Design Co., who is serving as our SIPN chair, and Greg Zini, who is from Benjamin F. Edwards and Company, serving as our Ambassador Committee Chair. We're so fortunate to welcome you all to the board. Thank you. In the year ahead, the Chamber will explore new opportunities to serve the business community and advance our mission of economic opportunity and quality of life in the Greater Concord area. We will pursue a more robust strategy towards branding and promoting the community as a cultural visitor destination, as well as an outstanding place to live and work to attract and retain a talented workforce. The Concord Young Professional Network will continue to provide an educational and social network to make the Capital Region an attractive place for young professionals. We will continue to broaden the scope of the Chamber's participation with Concord's New Americans community. We will continue to advocate for business at both the local and state levels. We will continue to strengthen the pool of informed leadership through our programs Leadership Greater Concord and CASTLE, Capital Area Student Leadership. And we will provide educational programs that reflect the dynamic and changeable needs of our members and robust networking opportunities for all. And we're excited to report that by early 2023, we will be unveiling a new website and customer relationship management software to better serve and promote our members as well as the communities that we serve, so stay tuned for that. And I'm looking forward to a very exciting and productive year ahead, so thank you. And now, on to the best part. We are pleased to recognize an outstanding individual who has made such a difference in our community. We would like to welcome Ellen Fries, first steering committee member and former board member of the Concord Coalition to End Homelessness, to the podium to share a few words about Ellen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Greetings, everybody. I am so happy to be here to celebrate tonight with all of you. And I'm deeply honored to be saying a few words about Ellen Groh. I like to say that I have been with the Concord Coalition to End Homelessness since before it began, because I was there when the idea was brought up and discussed. I was present at the founding, and I have served in multiple roles on the board over the years. So I like to tease Ellen that I am Ellen number 1 and she is Ellen number 2. But wow, since Ellen Groh became ED, CCEH has really grown. And Ellen has always led with grace. And I didn't even mean to make a pun about her middle name, but it just happened. When Ellen joined CCEH as our very first executive director in 2014, the organization was only 6 years old. It had a daytime resource center, which operated in donated space, 1 full-time employee, and a cohort of dedicated volunteers for all the daily operations. You will hear more about Ellen's many accomplishments and the growth of the organization, but I just want to say that for me, the most exciting thing about Ellen's tenure is that we have grown to the point where we are able to actually create housing and house the most vulnerable people, which is a goal that the organization has had from the very beginning, but it's extremely difficult to get to that point when you're just a small, new nonprofit organization. Ellen has provided wonderful leadership over the past 8+ years. She is an incredibly hard worker, always striving for the highest goals, but also always sensible, always listening to the input of others, never thinking that she knows all or knows best, and putting things on a reasonable timeline despite always dreaming big. She has connected with many people in the field and tried to learn as much as possible from others. Ellen listens to the board of directors while also guiding them. She finds and hires amazing staff who have a deep passion for the work they do. She maintains open and listening relationships with the staff and has empathy for the daily stress they are under. The benefits to the Concord community stemming from Ellen's leadership are immense. CCEH strives for a community where everyone has a safe, decent, stable, and affordable place to live. Through Ellen's incredibly hard work and that of those she leads, this is becoming more of a reality each day. Ellen Groh is definitely Ellen #1. No one could be more deserving of the Citizen of the Year award than Ellen. Thank you.
And Ellen, we would like to welcome you onto the stage. You get to stand here while we talk about you. And I'll leave that there. I will not. So now I would like to officially present the highest honor that the Chamber bestows, the Distinguished Citizen of the Year Award, to retiring Coalition to End Homelessness Executive Director, Ellen Groh. Inspiring, compassionate, effective, and a determined leader. These are just some of the terms used to describe Ellen Groh. She has drastically expanded Concord Coalition to End Homelessness's ability to provide critical and sometimes life-saving services to unhoused individuals. As executive director, Groh led the organization to implement the City of Concord's new plan to end homelessness, a multi-organizational effort that mobilized hundreds of community members to join her cause. I can feel your emotion. Under her leadership, the organization also moved the Resource Center to a larger location and expanded the services offered and the hours of operation. They also expanded the staff from 2 part-time individuals to a team of 10 full-time workers, plus 2 part-time employees and seasonal staff. They've built an impressive 40-bed winter shelter, and they've expanded the operating budget from $70,000 in 2014 to nearly $1 million today in 2022. Groh's dedication to her cause and momentum to create palpable change has been unwavering, despite facing a global pandemic and a national and local housing shortage. At the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, Groh reacted quickly to obtain emergency federal funding to purchase the first congregational church building that was used as an interim location for the Resource Center and winter shelter, providing enough space for social distancing and freeing up separate quarantine locations for clients who had contracted the virus. Groh also led Concord Coalition to End Homelessness's recent efforts to actually begin buying buildings in Concord to house some of their more vulnerable clients. The organization now owns 4 properties around Concord with more units in development. In the past 2 years, over 40 clients have been housed in these properties in local apartments. This impressive effort in response to a crippling housing shortage throughout the region has been thoughtfully led by Groh, even receiving praise from the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance, who awarded the apartments on Green Street for historic preservation. This significant organizational growth has allowed Concord Coalition to End Homelessness to serve between 250 and 300 unique individuals every month, providing everything from coffee to showers, housing, medical supplies, case management, and dozens of other items and services. Recently, the nonprofit has begun developing a by-name list of every chronically homeless person in Concord, which will allow the organization to serve its clients even better. During her 8 years leading the Concord Coalition to End Homelessness, Groh has made a profound and transformational impact on the community and its most vulnerable residents. It's almost done. Concord Coalition to End Homelessness Outreach Coordinator Connor Spurn wrote, "Ellen Groh exemplifies a perfect balance of logic and compassion, making space for everyone, our clients, the neighbors, our politicians in government, our supporters, and even those who disagree with her work." We couldn't agree more. For these and many other reasons, the Greater Concord Chamber of Commerce is proud to honor Ellen Groh with the 2022 Outstanding Citizen of the Year Award. letter from Annie Custer congratulating Ellen on all of her achievements. So that is for you to take with you.
Wow. This is overwhelming. I'm really, really deeply, deeply grateful for this award. I have a lot to say, so I worked really, really hard to condense it so I wouldn't talk all night. I'm getting this award because of the positive impact that Concord Coalition to End Homelessness has had over the almost 9, we're closing in on 9 here, years that I've been leading CCEH. But what I really want everybody here to know is that so much of the time, I was just trying to keep up with the amazing people inside CCH and outside of CCH who I've gotten to get to work with over these last 9 years. And it really has been a shared leadership. The issue of homelessness, especially long-term homelessness, which is what our agency primarily deals with, is so complex. And having a safe home is such a fundamental need. And the unhoused people that we work with at CCH are unbelievable. Most of them have been to hell and back. They have faced traumas that I cannot even imagine. But they keep going, and they help each other out. And I am in awe of their strength and their resilience. So I fell in love with this city while I was working here. And I finally got to move here just over a year ago when my son Josh, who's sitting down here, finally graduated high school in Hollis after 4 whole years. And I got to move here. And I had really, really fallen in love with this city while working here. And I fell in love with it because of its downtown and its neighborhoods and its walkability. But most of all, I fell in love with it because of the people I got to meet while working at the Coalition and their deep, deep caring and dedication to this community and how much this community cares about what happens here, including what happens to the people who don't have a house. And that's what I fell in love with, and that's what I wanted to be a part of. So I'm so glad to be living here now. So I'm going to accept this tremendous honor on behalf of all of CCEH, which includes the staff and the board over these last 9 years, and the hundreds of people who have helped CCEH to have the impact that we've had. We would be here all night if I tried to name even a fraction of them, but I have to name some. Just to give you all a sense, just a tip of the iceberg of how dedicated so many people in this community have been to making an impact on homelessness and how they have led this effort alongside with me. So I'm going to start with the early board of CCEH back when it was part-time me and a case manager at our little resource center. Many of those board members at that time worked with me side by side as though they were staff, even though they had real jobs. They had day jobs, and they all worked really as staff. Ellen Fries, who you just met, we were Ellen squared together, and I call her the founding mother because she was CCH before CCH existed. She led this effort for so long that ended up here. David Keller, who was also one of the initial founders of the cold weather shelters when First Church and then later South Church ran that, and he was on that board at the time. Maggie Fogarty and Paige Cannon and Michael Leuchtenberger, who really were side-by-side staff with me, even though they had full-time day jobs on top of it, and they taught me so much. Our current board chair, Ben Folsom, who is here somewhere in this room, who's a full-time lawyer and has young kids, but still finds a way to dedicate tremendous time and energy to this issue. And dear, dear Tom Fredenberg, who many people here knew, who stuck his neck way out and purchased the building that we now use as our resource center and which we named after him when he passed away far too young. And when First and South churches, who had worked so hard at running cold weather shelters for over a decade, decided that they could no longer serve as the host sites for this, it was Mayor Boulay and Christ the King Parish that worked truly a miracle to make a winter shelter at St. Peter's available. And it was the Friends program that stepped in to run it for the first 2 years. And Mayor Boulay has continued to stay so committed to this issue. And it really is a complex issue. I know he is getting calls in one ear with legitimate complaints about things happening in encampments. And he's getting calls from me and other people in the other ear talking about the legitimate needs of those people. And he listens to all of us, and he just keeps working on it, mostly behind the scenes. And when CCH decided that we needed to build a building, a structure, to serve as the winter shelter, I cannot tell you how many people came together to make that happen, how many people led that effort. CCH had a germ of an idea, but we were still such a tiny agency with such a tiny budget that somebody, I don't even remember who, told me to get in touch with Jonathan Hawley, who is here somewhere in this room, there, back there. Told me to get in touch with Jonathan, that he cared about this issue of homelessness and he might help us out at a cut rate. Well, not only did Jonathan Hawley come up with the idea to squeeze a winter shelter into the backyard of the Resource Center, he designed the entire thing for free. He carried us through the entire process of building it for free. I didn't know what I was doing about that. He handled that. He pulled together all of his colleagues, professionals in the field, who either worked for free or for vastly reduced prices. Gary Chicoine Construction did that entire project for no profit. Richard Uchida, who represented us to get 17 zoning variances. At the time, I didn't know what a big deal that was. That's a big deal. And he did all of that for free. So who does that? Who does all this work for free? Amazing, amazing people in Concord do that. That's why I love this community so much. There is not a chance on this earth that our agency could have built that shelter without these incredibly wise, skilled professionals who made this happen. I was just running as fast as I could to keep up with them. So yes, I think you should applaud all those people. Amazing. And then there's more. There's a lot more, but I won't say all of it, but I'm going to say some of it. When CCH moved on to create permanent housing with our Green Street apartments, because permanent housing really is the way to end homelessness, Jonathan Hawley stepped up again, and this time he brought in Joe Spain Construction, and Joe is here somewhere in this room. He's hiding, but he's here. I see him back there. And Joe brought in all of these and Joe did the entire project for free, no profit. And Joe brought in all of these subcontractors who did it either at vastly cut rates or no profit. And Cleveland Waters Bass, with Tenley Callahan and Phil Hastings and the rest of their team behind them, stepped in to get all of the zoning variances for free and handled all of the legal work of the land transaction for free. And as phenomenal as it is that these professionals did this work for free, it was even more than that. All of these people really were and still are our partners in this work. They are as dedicated to this mission as we are. There was a point early on in the pre-development of the Green Street apartments that it looked like it wasn't going to work. I don't even remember what the issue was, but some big thing had surfaced that was going to cost a lot of money. And I remember going into a meeting with Jonathan Hawley and Joe Spain and saying, maybe this isn't our project. Maybe we need to find a different location to build apartments. And Joe looked at me, he looked me in the eye in his wonderful, calm, and steady way, and he said, "Ellen, we're going to make this work. You don't have to worry about this. We're going to figure it out." And they did. And now 4 people are living there, when before that they lived in their car or they lived down by the river for years and years, and now they're housed. So these are just some of the people who made our construction projects work. There are so many others that have been the engine behind the impact that CCH has made. Byron Champlin, who might have there, he's still here. He was with Lincoln Financial Foundation, which was the agency that funded our first case manager for our first permanent supportive housing program. And he's also served as the chair of the steering committee for the plan to end homelessness for all of these years. And Linda Lorden and Claudia Walker, who have both also been named as Citizen of the Year, no accident there, and who serve on the steering committee for the plan to end homelessness, and who each have supported CCEH in so many ways. Roseanne Haggerty, who's the Chief Executive Officer of the national nonprofit Community Solutions that's making progress all over the country in ending homelessness. She lives in Concord now because she loves it here. And she dedicates so much of her time to our agency and to this mission, again, for free, while she's running a national level nonprofit. She makes time for this mission. And again, the incredibly generous, I might not have said it earlier, I meant to, the incredible donors, the individuals and the businesses and the faith community and the foundations like New Hampshire Charitable Foundation and Lincoln Foundation and Granite United Way, who have made sure that we could take on these projects and these programs and keep the lights on and pay the staff. Which brings me to the incredible staff at CCEH, all of whom pour their hearts and souls into this work, and all of whom are working for far less than they could command at some other job in the private sector. So I could tell you about each one of these great people, but I won't because it would take too long. But I do want to do one special call out to Connor Spurn, who has the energy of a 26-year-old, but the insight and the wisdom of someone well beyond her years, and who took the time and the energy to nominate me for this award. So I could go on and on about all the people who've donated their time and their money and their expertise and their dedication, but I know that I can't. So I please really want you to know that this is just the tip of the iceberg of all the people who have made the impact of CCEH possible. And all of these people should be standing up here with me and accepting this with me. So I want to share a little personal thing about me that I think relates to this award. I used to play ultimate frisbee in Research Triangle Park in North Carolina. Has anybody heard of ultimate frisbee? Okay, so it's a little bit, it's a game. It's a little bit like soccer, a little bit like football. You advance a frisbee down the field and you score in an end zone. And my life centered on ultimate frisbee for about 10 years after I graduated college. When I played back then, there were not enough women in our area to form a women's team. So we made do and we went to tournaments and we found teams that didn't have enough players and we picked up with them. And we kept recruiting until finally there were enough women to form our own triangle team. We called ourselves Grits. And in 1990, we made it to nationals. So that was a pretty big deal. And since then, Ultimate Frisbee in the Triangle area has really taken off. They've formed this whole nonprofit. They teach Ultimate Frisbee in the schools. They provide scholarships. And it's grown into a very big thing. And a few years ago, they created this Hall of Fame. It's really kind of sweet. And this past fall, my old team, Grits, was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I was inducted into the Hall of Fame. So, yeah, but I have to tell you why. So I was inducted as a 1980s player, so they created this whole category just for old people, and I got in on that. But the truth is, I was not a stellar player. I was a good, solid player, but I was nothing fantastic. I did have endurance to beat the band back then, and that was helpful when we had such a small team. But the real reason that I was inducted into that Hall of Fame is because I recruited players and I welcomed players. If anybody showed up, I made sure they knew that we really wanted them to come back. So there's a pattern here. I am deeply, deeply honored to receive this award, and I'm going to accept it as recognition that I either recruited or welcomed, or at least did not repel, the extraordinary people in Concord who have come together to create a community where people have their basic need for a place to call home a reality. And I do believe that Concord can make it to the list of communities that have ended homelessness. There is a lot of stress out there right now. Winter's coming. The federal rental assistance program that was paying for people's hotel rooms after COVID is drying up very abruptly and unexpectedly early. Substance use is taking its toll with more and more people since COVID, and it's exacerbating the issues of people with long-term homelessness and people in encampments. I feel a little bit like a captain who is abandoning ship in a storm by retiring in another month. But there is a tremendous team in place. I'm so thrilled that Karen Jansen, who is over there, is going to be taking my place next month as executive director. And there is such tremendous, tremendous support from this amazing community. So I know we can make it. And I'm going to end with a slightly corny story that I'm sure you've all heard about geese and how they fly in formation so that the goose at the head of the V can take all the headwind and the other ones can rest up, and they take turns taking the lead. And by working together in that way, they can go the distance. And it's also said that if a goose gets sick or injured, 2 other geese will stay behind with it until it either recovers or until it dies. And then they'll go on together, drafting on each other until they can hook up with a larger group again. So let's continue to be like the geese. Let's take turns in the front and don't leave anyone behind. Thank you.
With those awesome words, this concludes the 103rd annual meeting of the Greater Concord Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Have a great night.